And we're live. Welcome back to the show. Joining me this week is William and our
Hello, mate.
good friend Jack from www.worldaroundewe.com, the world's finest purveyor of weird taxidermy.
Yeah, all right.
So Jack, how are you, bud?
I'm sound, mate. I've just had Christmas, sent out everyone's dead rats and that, and dead birds. This is sort of my little bit of time off. So if there ever was a time where I could have done a show at 1 in the morning and not been bothered, it would have probably been this week when I take my one of my only weeks off of the year. But no, you're doing it at 3 o'clock on the afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice.
Stopping
Yeah,
you
well,
from
we got to
watching the
figure out a
football.
William. A, yeah. We got to figure out a William, friendly time to do it. So that's
Yeah.
that's the way. That's the story behind it. But so anyway, this so I gotta give a little backstory to this episode idea, which was this is what I suggested a while back. I think in July, you guys taped an episode. I think it was, by the way, like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You guys taped one while
Yeah.
I was on vacation,
Yeah.
and you guys had already figured out something you guys wanted to talk about. But I said prior to you taping it, I had said you guys should talk about the Secret of Nim
Right.
because this is a Jack movie.
See, you say that, but that's just because what? Because it's got
Those are
magic
rats.
and rats and what seems to be like a whole film about aliens without actually saying aliens made us. That's what the story of it
I
is,
think there's
anyway.
that. Well, yeah, but so in other words, it was a very Jack movie, though.
It was, yeah, it was a good
Yeah.
pick. You know me well.
I
These
know.
these 4 hours we've spent talking to each other over the past 3 years, you've really got me down to a T.
Listen, you're a very active poster on Instagram. I think I got the gist. But yeah, so this movie, I watched this movie as a kid. I had it on VHS. And I watched it for many years, gave it no further thought. And then probably in I want to say in maybe 2020 or 2021, I just watched a documentary on John B. Calhoun and like the Rat Utopia experiment, and then they mentioned that they based this movie off of it, or book and movie off of it, and I was like, oh my god, it's another example of movies encoding MK Ultra into the cultural zeitgeist.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is all films are for, really. They're not made for
Literally.
entertainment. The entertainment part is definitely secondary. And
Absolutely.
even
The
now,
entertainment is there
they're
to-
failing at the entertainment now.
Yeah.
They've
But the
just lost it
entertainment is
completely.
well. That is where they're losing, isn't it? Because like when they used to make them entertaining with rude words in and stuff, and people thought it was funny,
Yeah.
then that was better at fooling people into getting the subliminal messages. You know, you
Yeah,
sit and watch
it's
it. wouldn't
it's the sugar in Mary Poppins medicine, isn't it?
you? Exactly.
But
Yeah.
I've always thought with that, I think that's suspicious in itself. They'd never tell us that the medicine was the thing we needed. And it makes me think that the actual chemicals she's trying to get into the kids
Is
is
the
laden in
sugar.
the spoon.
Yeah. Oh, right. Or maybe it's a
Yeah,
lead
the
spoon.
coatings on, yeah, it's a lead spoon. The medicine's there is the medicine's the red herring and the sugar's there to make them want it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, so yeah, this movie though, what the fuck? So I guess what the real question is, what the fuck was this movie trying to say?
I don't think they knew. When you watch it,
Yeah.
it feels like they've read maybe 4 stories and gone, well, we're not going to get a film out of any of these, but if we pick these bits, because there's definite chunks where you're like, that could have been, you could have made it up to here, and it could have been a great hero's journey. It's not a hero's journey story, really. Like, it doesn't,
No.
because it peaks too early. She gets to the owl. By the time she's got to the owl, you've had your hero's journey.
Yeah.
They've had that many ups and downs by that point, and that's only 20 minutes in. That's like the first act. It's
Yeah. Well, to
fucking-
that end, I really think there's something cut out of this movie. I know,
Yeah,
it's kind of
definitely.
short, but even short for a kids movie. I used to call a kids movie typically we call it a tight 90. This is like
Yeah.
a tight 77.
Yeah, it definitely
minutes,
seems
of
like
course,
it
I'm
had bits
talking.
removed.
It seemed like it was 2 hours long to me.
Oh yeah. No, it felt long. And then you're
I
like, oh
liked it,
fucking hell,
actually.
I've still got an hour left of this morning.
Yeah,
Um,
but like I watched it twice. I fell asleep.
Fucking hell.
I fell asleep the first time,
Oh.
and then I watched it again and stayed awake throughout. Did my best to pay attention to it because, like, I don't know. It's just maybe it's my like rural upbringing. Cause all these like countryside, because it's a countryside setting, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
American.
Like, I grew up there. And I'm like, oh, there's some mice in the field that are going to get ploughed up. That's the peril. I'm like, so.
No, but see, the parallel is that there's the frost is coming, which means the ice caps are going to melt. And when the ice caps melt in real life, what that actually means is that the tractor, in inverted commas for the audio listeners, is going to come down from above and harvest us. But if we can damage their machinery... Oh, there you go. Fucking, how on the nose could they be? That they're going to come, but the only way to prevent them is to limit the use of oil and petrol. That's why they the shrew pulls the pipe out to stop the oil and fuel. So
Women
it's just getting
are
that
little.
little.
It, by the way.
Yeah,
Shrews.
there you go. It's immediately left, and they're like, right.
Even that's right near the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, this is what I mean. The whole film's over by the time they meet the owl. Everything after the owl, you're like, what the fuck's going on here?
Yeah.
Well, and then there's that really weird scene where she goes through this door, the mother mouse, Mrs. fucking Bethnal Green or whatever the fuck she's called. She goes through this portal. Brisbane. And then there's all these fucking mandala fucking patterns and like triptych fucking all this like kaleidoscope stuff. And then she's with rats. It's like, has she gone through another dimension here? What is it they're trying to... And then all they're trying to say is they've got electric... That's it.
Yeah,
that's what that meant.
The psychedelic stuff also happened, as you might imagine, when they in the sort of exposition they give you as to how these rats became sentient, where they're showing like obviously MK Ultra doctors injecting them with psychedelic /
and the red flashing
genetic...
lights and that.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do a little bit of the basis of this story is
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is what I was going to say. My point about having watched it twice was,
cool.
the second time I watched it, I made a conscious effort to pay attention and try and notice things, but things that you don't get start piling up on top of each other, and no matter how hard you try, you're like, because I thought you two guys were just going to get it, and like, but evidently it's not just me being a Philistine, but but free Philistia, by the way.
True.
Then you sent us a video about somebody analysing it, Scott.
Yeah.
And he's going, oh, what's the significance of the magic stone? And I'm like, magic stone? I didn't. Apparently, that's an important element.
The whole second half of the film. Yeah, they set it up in the exposition in the first 2 minutes. You've got what's his name, Nicomeando or whatever he's called.
Well, we can go into that too.
And he's got that stone and he's looking at it, and then you don't see that until like 50 minutes in, 10 minutes before the end, and then they whip that out and he's like, "Have this. It's your dead husband's. It might give you magical powers."
Oh, right, yeah, the amulet. When this bloke said stone,
like
I thought like just like a stone.
What's a MacGuffin? What does MacGuffin mean?
Oh, it's like a screenwriting. It's a screenwriting, terminology where it's like it's the thing that everyone's trying to get in the movie.
Ah, yeah, okay.
Yeah, the MacGuffin,
well, that's not even what. Well, I suppose the bad guy's trying to get that.
He does want it, yeah.
There's a lot of people as well with the names beginning with J, and they could have made so many different choices to change the other names.
I was gonna say cool
And they fucking...
It is confusing though. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, like why? Well, there's a whole alphabet. Why do you keep doing that? It's just fucking. That's an unnecessary thing.
Maybe
there's like a Jeremy, a Jenny, a Gemma, a Jenna, and these are all rats as well, and they all look the same.
Rats, beginning with J. I can't think of anything.
What is that?
No, I can't see why they've done it.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it is based on a novel. I was just going to get to this. So it's based on a novel which is actually entitled Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of NIMH. And they had to change, for the movie, they had to change it to Brisbee because, indeed, of the flying disc toy that was developed after the writing of the book, but before the movie came out.
Right.
So they had to change it to Brisbee. But the book, I've not read the book, but apparently this is why I think the magic amulet is significant, because the magic amulet does not appear in the book.
Right.
Right. Okay.
So, and I don't know what the exact.
Well,
we can
also-
talk about the fucking movie. I didn't read the book as well.
Yeah, I mean, so again, going back to MK Ultra, I think it is we're coming to the idea that it's been changed to suit MK Ultra. You know, that like the book was the book and the experiments were the experiments, but according to my understanding, the experiments weren't injecting the rats with stuff.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, yes, you're right about that. Yeah.
So
We were gonna do a little backstory on the actual experiments in a moment. But so Jack, have you ever heard of the Rat Utopia experiments? I figure, given your
Yeah. I've heard of that. Yeah, obviously, fucking what a guy, childhood hero.
I would imagine. Yeah. You guys have similar interests. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this guy, John B. Calhoun, was working for the NIMH. Everybody knows NIMH was basically a front for CIA research. That's well established by, I think NIMH was had something to do with the that free clinic in California where the Manson family was there, and they were doing MK Ultra stuff there as well. It's all the same shit. But
until halfway through the film, I thought Nim was the name of one of the mice. I had no idea.
That's why it tries to trick you like that. But then it very, very pointedly goes. There's a scene where they show the farmer and his wife, and the wife's like, "Hey, Nim called, the National Institute for Mental Health."
It's a lot of there's normally expositions at the start of a film, innit? But it does manage to keep doing it through it. Yeah. It's not a story that tells itself.
I kind of like that about it.
Do you? The hand holding all the way through. Well, I suppose you need the hand holding, otherwise you really wouldn't know. If they took that out of it, you'd just be like, what the fuck is this?
Upfront exposition is kind of hand holding, wouldn't you think? Like being like, okay, here's all the shit you need to know before the movie starts. I
suppose, yeah. But it doesn't feel like you're deducing it yourself as you go through.
It is a children's movie, but
Oh yeah, I forget that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but like there are children's books and children's movies that don't do that. That are really good.
Again, I do think they cut things out of this.
And also, I think there is a thing like the 80s, the 70s and 80s was when children's entertainment started becoming
dark.
It's just it's more like slop. And I'm not saying that this is just slop, but I'm saying that children's entertainment became slop.
It certainly did. I would say that this is an example of anti-slop, though.
Yeah, but it's for instance, the reason SpongeBob stands out is because it's not slop. It's well written and people taking care over it. Whereas My Little Pony and stuff like that is just garbage, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think My Little Pony lost itself though to the Bronies, didn't it? Really?
Yeah.
So no matter what they did to try and recover that, that's gone.
Yeah, the demographic change, and they were like, "Oh well, we might as well lead into the demographic."
Well, yeah,
consumes it.
I'll tell you, little Emwardina is a little girl. She likes an old My Little Pony.
Yeah.
Oh.
But she won't have a bar of the 3D new one.
No.
Yeah, there's something weird Uncanny Valley about that new. I guess it's cheaper to make that 3D animation than drawing, I would imagine.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, than the cells and stuff. That's the same with Fireman Sam and that though. Like that when they changed that and Postman Pat to 3D, they're creepy.
Yeah.
It's proper odd. Noddy and all.
Okay. So another thing about this movie is that it's like the first film directed by this guy named Don Bluth. And Don Bluth is a really talented, and I think one thing I think we can all agree on here is the animation quality is definitely a cut above certainly the slop they have now. This guy, have you guys ever heard of Dragon's Lair, the video game, the arcade game specifically?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, it's really famous in America, at least. I thought it might be known in the UK as well. But it was the first arcade game with a laser disc inside, and the graphics were actually animated, hand drawn animation, very similar style to this movie, by the way. And the game sucks. I played it before at Fun Spot in New Hampshire, but basically it shows just a cartoon movie, and the whole game is you hitting up, down, left, or right in time in order to not get killed.
Right.
and then you move on to the next thing. So in effect,
Like a
by the way,
dance mat game for fat people.
well, for 80s dad, people my dad's age, yeah. My dad would always brag to me about how he was good at this game, but I'm like, Dad, that just means you played it a lot of times. You memorized when to hit left, up, and down, and stuff like that. And he's like, well, I beat it, and no one else did. But yeah, it is a very well animated thing. I actually honestly am surprised you guys never heard of it. It's pretty famous. But it's literally Jeff had brought up Dragon's Lair in the group chat the other day, and I said, "Oh, funny connection between that and the episode we're gonna have this weekend."
Yeah.
But anyway, so Don Bluth had left Disney because precisely because he said, I feel like Disney's backsliding into Slopville.
Yeah.
And he took a new contract with MGM, who made this movie, and was like, cool, I can make a real mature, kids movie with like, themes and actual themes in it, and not have it be like, slop.
Yeah, just not just a vehicle for selling dolls.
Precisely. No dolls were sold in this. In fact, this movie did not do well, by the way, actually, in the theaters.
You surprised me.
I can see why.
It did.
They did shoehorn a couple songs in.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Which is very Disney.
I feel like they. I actually saw an interview with one of the animators, and they said that the MGM had sort of induced them to put that song in, and they were like, "Okay, we'll do it, but we're not going to have a character sing it in the movie. We're going to have it an off-screen singer." So it's in the movie, but we just think it's like cheese dick to have a character turn to the camera and go, ooh.
Yeah,
Like
because who's that for in a musical? That's what gets me about musicals. They do me head in. Because I don't
Amen.
understand when you watch something like Grease, right? I imagine you have watched that. I've tried to watch it, right? So they sing a song. They sing it to the camera, not to each other, and then later in the film, reference that song to each other as if they were speaking to each other. And then there's other songs where they're on their own and they sing it, and then someone else will reference that in a verse later on in the film as if they were there. And I think it just takes you out of the film completely.
I agree. It was particularly in a movie context. In a play on stage, it's a little more you can kind of suspend your disbelief a little more. But in a movie, it's really weird. I agree.
In a play, the audience is in the play, innit? That's why it's a play, but yeah, definitely don't work with a film, man. It's
fucking crazy.
It works in the Blues Brothers, but they don't do it exactly like that. They just have the famous singer perform their famous hit song, and everybody else knows the dance moves to it.
Yeah, but that kind of leans into the surreal thing, though.
They are taking the piss out of it as well. Aren't they? Yeah.
But specifically really Grease, to Jack's point, Grease is fucking weird because it doesn't lean into the surreal nature of it like the Blues Brothers or something does. It really is like a very straightforward, like, okay, I'm done singing that song. Let's have a chit chat now.
Yeah. It's a weird world to live in. It'd be fucking terrifying. The
when
thought
I was a
that
kid,
these people, what seems like a fucking paedophile is going to start singing a song with a bunch of other lads about looking at the underwear of the children at your school. It's very odd. All of the themes
Jack,
in it.
Why would you say that about me? That's so horrible. I'm over it. Sandy, let's get out of here. Anyway, okay, so we didn't talk about John B. Calhoun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this guy worked for MK Ultra. He had MK Ultra funding. And he was, I believe that the impetus behind these experiments was like some kind of like Malthusian panic where it's like, we're gonna run out of space. Absurd, by the way. Absurd notion that we would run out of space. And the fact that they were focusing on like North America as like a source of place being overpopulated as opposed to say India, China. Like absurd notion, by the way. It's clearly, obviously, the intent behind it is like, how are we going to manage the decline of the fucking American populace?
Well, I mean, that's what's like one of those articles you sent me. They were going so about the time that these experiments happened, which was what was it in this
50s.
50s.
MK Ultra, yeah.
They were like, well, I mean, it's not like MK Ultra's stopped, is it? It's just
That's when
turned
they
into
were on
making
paper
movies
doing
now.
it, though.
Yeah.
You're right. It couldn't have been before that, I'm saying.
Yeah. So, yeah, they were like, some book came out that was extremely influential that said, all right, okay, in the 1970s, hundreds of millions of people are going to die because of overpopulation.
Source.
Yeah. Well, do you remember when the ice caps melted back in the year 2001?
Right, I do remember that. That was tough for everybody. But yeah, that's how science works, though, isn't it? Yeah. They come up with like a fake problem, and then they go, "Okay, well, how are we going to implement the things we wanted to implement already by claiming to fucking solve the problem that we've made up?"
So anyway, right, so these experiments were this guy built like rat and mouse.
Basically, built a Chinese pig farm, but years before the Chinese built the Chinese pig farms.
Correct.
What's a Chinese pig farm?
Multi-story.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like a car park. What we would have essentially as a car park, they fill with pigs.
Yeah.
A lot of Chinese.
So it helps the smell carry further, doesn't it?
Yeah, just it gets above the buildings.
Yeah, you're right. The wind can really carry that. Yeah. But yeah, so basically he made this I'm gonna butcher the like description of it, but it was like 4 quadrants in which the end quadrants are like inaccessible to the middle ones. Yeah, they're dead ends, exactly.
Yeah, you can get to them from the middle ones, but you can't get to anywhere else except the middle ones from them.
Right.
So you got like your 2 terminals, and then you got 2 in the middle that have got 2 exits.
Exactly.
And the ones at the end have only got 1 exit.
Right. And so because of this layout, or not, maybe not because of this layout, but in keeping with this layout, the stronger rats were sort of strong holding up in the end in the protected areas, and they were able to, for a time, continue breeding with the harem of rat female rats.
Yeah, but they're provided with unlimited food and water as well.
Right. So yes, survival is not really on the table, essentially.
Yeah.
And
they're living in a post-scarcity world.
Literally, yeah. It's what's that book we read? Diamond Age.
Yeah.
But like Diamond Age, new social issues arise.
Yeah.
And because of this sort of hoarding of the social hoarding that's taking place with these stronger rats, the weaker male rats are sexless, very in keeping with what today's society looks like, by the way.
Yeah.
And they become homosexuals. A lot of them did, and they were eating each other and shit and practicing cannibalism. And even though, and this went on for a while, but I think after a certain point where like social conditions within the rat colony became so fucked up that even the healthy, and remember, by the way, survival is not an issue here. There's unlimited food and water. But in spite of this, the mother rats, as they were bearing the children, would just eat the kids.
Yeah.
That might be a mercy thing.
I think so, yeah.
Fucking hell, this is a terrible way to live. Like we're intelligent enough to know this is fucking weird.
Yeah.
we can go that way or die, or we can stay here and get bummed. So I'll kill you. This is your future. Like at the start, Lion King, innit, where he's showing me all these dark spaces here, where you'll be bummed or killed, Simba.
I mean, there's definitely something to it because, like, do you remember? I don't know, maybe a year ago, it might be 2 years ago, it might be 4 years ago, I don't know. But there's some earthquakes on the east coast of the United States, and they made they could feel them in New Jersey and New York and stuff.
I do remember that, yeah.
And it became a global news story. Everyone going absolutely losing their shit over it. And it's I don't know what Richter scale it was, but it said in the news reports what Richter scale it was. So I looked that up, and I thought, well, I've experienced an earthquake. I was at the very near the epicenter of one of England's biggest earthquakes of recent years, which was down in Kent in I think 2008 or something like that. And I was sleeping in a truck. And it just went like this. And that was it. And I woke up and thought, that's weird. And I went back to sleep. But I was parked up in an orchard in Kent, and it didn't seem all that bad. But evidently, if you're in hellscape of a modern city.
Right.
It makes you run round and round in circles and eat your mum and set your house on fire and shit.
Yeah. Literally though. Yeah. It was like I think
And that was
part of
the
it,
New York one was less strong than the one that made my truck go.
yeah.
What
I
if they
think
build their buildings then in America for when the earthquakes happen, and there's like big tuning forks inside the
What,
buildings,
yeah.
and then they emit a frequency and everyone goes mental.
Oh, and that's what the Twin Towers were. It was a massive tuning fork.
Yeah,
And it was
yeah.
that Indian concrete company flew them jetliners
Planes.
into it because they wanted to open up a musical instrument branch and take down Yamaha.
Dawson's wanted to stretch overseas.
What's it called? Yeah, no, I will say this. I think a big part of that, the difference between that 2008 Kent one and the one in America just this past year is internet, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Everyone was talking about it.
I'm sure, but they didn't
But-
have like the
'cause we-
immediate gratification,
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of
yeah.
hysteria that is like, associated with today's modern social media.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, to that end, I think that does translate well into what we were talking about. It's like there's obviously social dysfunction going on in this rat experiment or whatever, much like there is constant social dysfunction going on the internet.
Yeah.
And as in light of that, well, basically all these colonies collapse. That's pretty much what the end of the Oh, the thing that was interesting about it too was that these rats could never go back. Like after they'd been in this colony, they put them into healthy, normal, like, a stable colony or whatever, and they were fucked up still.
Yeah. But
Well, they've learned all the wrong rules, innit?
And the it's also look, the Calhoun experiments are really, really interesting because like they kind of gold wash it by saying, well, Calhoun wrote this book and he afterwards he said what he thought it was all about. But the results of these experiments have been kept secret for decades by this point. He didn't actually publish the paper until the 60s.
The CIA got to pour over it, basically. Only.
Yeah, and that now you can see that those conditions or those symptoms that the mice and rats were experiencing. The females lost interest in breeding. Like you said, the males become
sexless or homosexual.
Gay, yeah, and like and you get a population decline ultimately, and the population it never gets back to a level, and it's way also like these things happen. It's not because of overpopulation, it's because of social stresses. Because like these environments were designed for I don't know the exact numbers, but let's say they're designed for 3,000 rats or mice. Their populations peaked way short of that because of the social problems.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, oh yeah, that's a good point I didn't even mention, is that the food and water capabilities of the colony did, like I said, I don't remember the numbers. You're right, I don't remember the numbers either, but you're right, it did peak. It didn't even approach what its maximum capacity
Yeah,
was.
we're about 2/3 of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that's why they make food sort of seem scarce then to people, real people? They're like, oh, we've got loads of land where we could grow food and people won't be hungry, but if we make you think you could go hungry, and maybe, we employ some homeless people to hang around in your town centre just to remind you, oh shit, that could be me. And then, you think to yourself, well, I will slip one up when I get home later. And...
Yeah. Maybe. But I don't think so, because I think what's happened was the CIA commissioned this experiment, and they've tried to. And it's not to say that humans behave just like rats and mice, because that's another part of the gold washing. To say, well, clearly humans don't behave like this. But I think you could say that this is a template of what's desired by the powers that be for human society.
Sure.
Which is because they do have this Malthusian overpopulation, even though the experiments
want to maintain that myth in our minds.
Well, I think they believe it. They believe in this overpopulation thing, and like as you said, but they only apply it to white people.
Yeah.
Right.
They do not apply it to Africa or
because
even China or India.
No, because they don't see them as a threat to their elite status.
Correct.
They see guys like me and Jack and Scott as a threat to their elite status, which shows you what a shit elite they must be.
I must, yeah. Well, they must. Yeah, it's a very tenuous grasp on power, evidently.
Well, all this heavy-handed stuff that's going on. When you tell me about it, Scott, I always say, it doesn't seem like the actions of a state that's confident of its legitimacy, does it? Really?
Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah, things have gotten quite dire. Yeah. Okay, so that's a little background for the basis of the movie. Let's talk about the movie itself. So as I mentioned, Don Bluth is the director, and it's based off of this novel, which I did not read. But the plot revolves around.
I ain't reading that.
I ain't reading all that. So the plot revolves around this character, Mrs. Brisby, which interestingly never gets a first name.
No, and then she becomes Mrs. Jonathan Brisby near the end as well. They all start referring to her as that.
Yeah,
she's the widow of their hero.
A lot of the film is in like modern parlance is pushing the tradwife style thing.
That was what I was gonna say. It's a really refreshing movie in that because it shows a female character, and I don't want to like be totally dismissive of this because it does show her being like to an extent empowered, but it shows her empowered as a mother.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's not a feminist thing in the slightest.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's both.
Have always had their power. Yeah, and she's ultimate trad wife. She's trad widow. I was raised by a trad widow, if you like, and it's.
I don't think that should have made me smirk, and I don't know why it did make me smirk. I've got no idea.
I didn't identify with that aspect of Mrs. Brisby. She was the best character in it, for sure.
Yo, by far, yeah.
Oh, yeah, she was the only one that got fleshed out. And the Raven, which I thought it goes to a traditional thing, kind of thing, her pointing towards being embracing, like she gets her power by embracing tradition because the Raven, the crow or whatever, is a symbol of like Odin and God's always watching you. So it's really getting that in. And then you've got all the strings tied around the Raven, which is like, oh, we're going to use God as a puppet, if you like, to orchestrate what you're going to do. And what you're going to do is you're going to raise your kids, even though we've tortured you and killed your husband.
Physically raise them up with magic, even.
Yeah, well, there's a part as well where she even gets saved by embracing tradition because she gets saved by that water well. You know, near the beginning, the water well saves her, which is like an archaic form of power. And she draws from that to survive.
Right.
Interesting. I did not take that at all. By the way, when I thought, I was like, oh, it's a crow and it's voiced by an Italian guy. This is obviously like she's welcoming to ethnics.
Oh, could be.
I thought it was just like a hat tip to the Kiora advert.
Just a little product placement sort of thing.
Yeah.
Is that a product that you guys both know?
Yeah, it was like a very cheap drink.
Yeah, they used to advertise it probably after your time, Jack. It used to be always advertised in the cinema before the movie started. They had these crows.
No. But it was on the telly a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing. I didn't know that thing about. I'm not like a big pagan enjoyer, to be honest. So I didn't know anything about the crow symbolism with Odin or anything.
I think it's ravens. I don't know if it's crows, but I thought it was a raven because it's got a long beak and they look the same.
If it was England, it would be a raven. And if it's America, it's probably a crow.
No. Well, they're a symbol of Odin's eye, isn't it? Always watching. I thought it was a little bit of a
But you could be right, actually. I don't know. There's definitely some pagan or like pseudo Gnostic shit going on here because, well, again, I don't know what the fuck that stone is. We'll get to the stone in a minute, though. So Mrs. Brisby is a widow of and this is another thing. So she's Mrs. Jonathan Brisby throughout the film, but we never once meet Jonathan Brisby. And
we do. We see him.
Well, they show him in a flashback.
Yeah. He's dead, though, isn't he?
He is dead.
Spoilers.
The beginning of the movie, yeah. But it's just an interesting subversion of tropes, I guess, is that like normally like the hero's journey is a plucky, individualistic male. And what are we left with in this film? It's his widow. Like there's already been a story, a hero's journey, so to speak, in the exposition of this movie, and now we're watching another hero's journey, if you will, that is in the wake of it. And I don't know what that is trying to do, but it's
leaving
an
room
interesting
for a
framing.
prequel.
Literally, I don't know that they never made that, but I think it's an interesting literary framing.
Well,
and
It is.
There's a sequel, isn't there?
Yeah,
it's garbage. It's garbage.
I thought it would be. When I saw that it was made like 18, is it 18 years later,
Yeah,
1998 or
16 or
2000?
later,
Yeah, it's fucking, that's a long time.
And the animation
leave
looks
a
like
film.
dog shit, by the way.
So, yeah, you got the whole that thing of Jonathan Brisby when he's trying to, because Jonathan Brisby was in the mouse experiments,
Correct.
and he helped free all the mice and all the rats.
He was like their savior, essentially.
Yeah,
He's the only one who was
2 mice and 7 rats, which gives you the number 9, which is always
but this
in a
does
little...
speak to. So in the, I don't know how to put this. So in the Calhoun experiment, there's one thing that really stuck out to me was that because of the social conditions prevailing in Mouse Universe 23, the mice forgot, and the younger generations of mice never learnt the traditional mouse courtship rituals, and that was why they couldn't reproduce. Subsequent generations couldn't reproduce.
So they just all started sending pictures of their dicks to each other.
Exactly, yeah. And but when you think of it, Jonathan Brisby trying to escape and get everybody out, he's doing it for them kids that he's got back at home. I love them kids. You know, he's like, oh, I fucking love them kids. I've got to get out of here and go and
for sickly Timmy.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the exact same motivating force that Mrs. Brisby's got and all, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you think there is a little bit of fear mongering with the sickness? With the kids, like to try and be like, look, your kids can't die.
COVID?
We can take them off. Yeah. Pneumonia. COVID's the new pneumonia.
I mean, COVID is pneumonia, for the record. Like, literally. But yeah, no, I think that was just sort of anyone can relate to it. I think the other thing is it's a very archetypical mother, sick kid. Very easy for everybody to understand. The mother's role is firmly within the, Jungian archetype of a mother. We can all understand that it's baked into our primordial lizard brains, essentially. And you can sort of understand her motivations without even questioning it for a moment, essentially. And that's probably...
Do you know who I didn't understand in it? The shrew. The shrew makes no sense. No sense to the story, disregards the entire story of the film, because the rats and the mice, they're the ones who've been injected and they're the ones that are immortal and they can pass on their genetics. They're not making a shrew. The NIMH didn't make a shrew. The shrew clearly understands tools because it takes apart a tractor.
Yeah,
true.
So who's this shrew and what? I just didn't get it. It just seemed very fucking...
I do have a take on this, actually. I think there's some sort of duality going on in the movie. There's like this traditional farmer pastoral lifestyle going on, and the shrew is representative of that. And remember, as you recall, she's very against these rats. She hates the rats. And the rats sort of represent civilization. They represent, sort of high-minded.
The shrew's like a
Russian stuff.
Russian babushka type.
Yeah, I thought of her like an English peasant.
Woman.
She does have
a peasant woman. Yeah.
So I think there's
I'm just saying there are no English peasants anymore. So that's the last remain. That's the last. You better go to Russia and find a woman like that.
Right. Yes, you would, or Estonia or something, but Poland even.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think there's definitely a duality going on between it's sort of and the problem is the family itself is sort of caught in the middle of this, because while the female rat, Mrs. Brisby, is like a plain old rat from the field, or mouse from the field, Jonathan is this scientifically enhanced, genius mouse who, by the way, has an extended lifespan. What is that? Some fucking what do you call those? Nephilim shit?
Yeah, immortality, innit? His soul's gonna continue on by the sounds of it. I thought he was in the stone as well for part of it. I thought he did pid his soul in the stone, but they never really touched on that again. Because Or what the fuck was the magician's name called?
Nicodemus.
He could see. It looked like he was talking to Jonathan in the stone, but that
You know,
didn't
he was at least
ever
like
get
sort of
touched on.
anthropomorphizing the stone as his like way to talk to Jonathan in his brain or whatever. But
Yeah.
so interesting. The name Nicodemus. The Nicodemus is the leader of the rats in the Rats of Nim. Nicodemus is a saint in Christianity, and he is at least in America, he is the one who is most associated with the idea of born again, a second birth. And I have to assume that this is like a like sort of allusion to the idea that the rats and mice were given a second birth as these new intelligent creatures, essentially. They before they had their lives, because they all started out as regular rats, and then they were experimented on at NIM, and then they were not only given intelligence to the point where they can literally read human writing, but they also have this extended lifespan. So I assume that this Nicodemus name reference here is in reference to the idea that like it's a second birth of these rats. And then the other thing is the Nicodemus in the Bible is the guy who helps Joseph of Arimathea carry Jesus off the cross and bring him to the tomb. And he's the guy, he's wealthy, by that it's important. He was actually a Pharisee. He was the one Pharisee who was pro Jesus. And he is the one who provided like the traditional ancient Jewish herbs like that you'd do the burial rituals with. So I think that is a reference too, is that Nicodemus, the rat character, sort of has this sort of impetus to help out Brisby's widow. You know what I mean? I think it has something to do with like after death, he's taking care of the things that need to be taken care of, kind of thing.
Right. Okay.
And the futurist wants to kill him.
Yeah. The guy the guy who wants to just keep
Jenner,
sucking off the teat. Yeah, Jenner.
Yeah. Wants to keep thieving and stay living in the bush, even though he knows the bush is going to get burnt down, which...
Burning bush?
Could be. Imagine if the guy just read the Bible really high and he's just misremembered it. And he's like,
like that fucking...
I don't remember how this goes into that, but what I'll do is I'll just... if they're all mice, we can animal farm it, surely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a interjection I wanted to... Well, a sidebar that I was going to make earlier. It's
sure,
out of date now, but we're talking about peasant women.
Sure.
And I got a interesting fact for feminists to stick up their holes about this, which came to my attention. Well, I sort of knew it anyway, but I was reminded of it last night. So, you know, in Ukraine, they're talking about lowering the mobilization age to 18, right? Where everywhere else, where they draft kids, they draft people to be slaves in the military, they start at 18, don't they? They
Generally,
draft, yeah. But in Ukraine, no, it's 25 and over there.
Interesting.
Well, and apparently, according to our friends at Russians with Attitude, the reasons for that is that it's a very, like, maybe not matriarchal, but it's more of a traditional peasant society, and the women have got a lot of clout in that, and they don't want they want their useless alcoholic husbands to be taken off to the front and killed. That's fine. They don't mind that. But they don't want their beautiful little boys to be taken off to the front and killed. So that's an actual example of the power of the peasant woman.
Yeah, as a stabilizing force.
Against the most egregious sort of, modern welfare warfare, gay state.
Yeah.
Shit that's going on now.
I also imagine that an aspect of that is like I would imagine like the Zelensky government probably is like I imagine like older alcoholic husbands are not big fans of Zelensky and like teens and young 20-year-olds, male and female, are probably like, yes, I fucking love him.
Because they grew up watching him on telly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that must be, so they're literally like they've carved out a space for his biggest, most ardent supporters to stay and not get, the fucking draft or whatever. But yeah, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah,
That's
but anyway, hats
interesting.
off to peasant women for that. It's pretty cool.
I
Isn't it?
guess you're right. Yeah.
I can't remember what the other one was. So it'll come back to me
Well,
when that's out of date.
It's worth mentioning that the peasant woman, the shrew character, does save the fucking day.
She does, yeah, but it's. I don't know. I didn't understand why she could talk, why she was intelligent. Like, has she gotten all that through like proxy, like a contact high, but it's through intelligence?
Talk to each other because Mrs. Brisby is not a rat of Nim either.
But Jeremy can't fucking figure out how to use string. Do you know what I mean?
Italian,
so
he's Tom DeLuise.
But he's struggling, and so the shrew should struggle, but it doesn't. I don't know. I don't know.
I have a take on that. So she instinctively knew how to disable this industrial machine because she represents the pastoral sort of peasant woman archetype, essentially.
Yeah,
and so she instinctively has Uncle Ted. She
knows her way around an engine.
Yes, exactly. To dismantle it only, never to start it.
I mean, the Luddites didn't know how spinning jennies worked and stuff, did they? But they were able to smash them up.
I suppose, yeah. It's a lot easier to break stuff, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't really take intelligence. Yeah. Fair.
See all that stuff inside there, Homer? That's why your robot never worked.
Also, I go to the pub with guys who have just finished work at the agricultural machinery place, and believe you me, shrews do disable tractors.
I bet, yeah.
And especially
literally shrews are like an issue for farmers?
Well, shrews, mice, rats, like
will chew through the feed and that.
Yeah, well, especially combine harvesters because they only get used at the end of summer, and then they get parked up somewhere. And obviously,
you come to it and you realize, oh my god, all the wires are chewed out by these fuckers.
Yeah, because they're all getting scooped into it while it's doing its job.
Right.
And it's full of they're in their Calhoun experiment tractor vehicle.
Writ small.
Yeah, and obviously there's bits of food stashed away in all these corners of it. They eat all that, and then they start eating the wire.
Interesting.
But my mate was saying, he says, I got in a combine the other day, and round my feet when I was driving it, it's just a sea of mice. Right?
Alive or dead?
Alive.
Oh, nice.
Because I can't put poison in them.
Yeah, it'll fuck up the food, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
but could they not put the combine harvester in a big barn, an airtight barn, and then either suck all the oxygen out of there, so then you just got loads of dead rotting mice everywhere, or poison.
Or just throw a couple cats in there, dude.
Yeah.
They'll just go out and get more mice and bring them in.
I mean, you're right, but it's at least something.
But yeah, so when you get in and you've got a foaming sea of mice around your boots while you're driving it, that's a good sign.
Sounds cute.
Because if it's full of mice, there's no rats in it.
Oh, good point. Yeah, they don't really hang out. No, as contrary to this movie's fucking belief.
Well, no, that is part of the initial, that's part of the Act 2, isn't it?
It is.
The mice have to make friends with the rats, yeah.
They got to go into their secret empire downstairs. Oh, there's a bit about transhumanism as well.
Absolutely, that's definitely a major theme throughout
it. With the fella, the other mouse, Mrs. Jonathan Brisbane's husband's friend.
Justin.
No, Justin was the bodyguard, wasn't he? I mean, the guy that breaks
Mr.
his
Ages.
shin.
Mr. Ages.
Mr. Ages, yeah, because he fixes machines and tinkers, but then he's also like, oh, look, I've made this thing here, which will fix your sick kid. And that seems like, well, we're seeing here that people who make machines are going to be the people who are going to make us better, rather than because he's not a doctor or out like that.
Yeah.
He's a tinkerer.
He's a fucking mouse.
He's an inventor, I guess.
He's
a fucking mouse.
Yeah. What does he know about fucking mice?
The aesthetics of Nicodemus, despite the fact that he has a religious name, the aesthetics of him is an alchemist. Let's be honest here. He's got a big robe. He's got claws.
I was thinking the guy that teaches them in Kill Bill. Does the fucking with the beard and flicks it.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't seem like tough though, as opposed to that guy. That guy seems tough.
Yeah. I reckon.
I feel like
any three of us could
Nicodemus
take
is like
him
a
in a fight.
wizened old, like like a wizard or something, and he's doing alchemy experiments or whatever. But anyway, my point is that alchemy is like the transhuman impulse. I believe has direct, intellectual antecedent, with alchemy. Like it's definitely like the Knights Templar or like and like the whole that's all based in fucking alchemy and shit like that. And those are the dudes. That's like the fucking Freemasons who are doing the weird, the 2001 Space Odyssey, baby in space symbology. You know what I mean? Like if we're becoming the nouveau human. And besides, and aside from that, I mean, just very nakedly, what is the movie about? It's using science, alchemy, modern day alchemy, in order to transform more primitive creatures into more advanced creatures. I mean, literally, it's just transhumanism, right?
But
Again, calling back to our last show we did together, it's chariots of the gods. It's these beings, higher level beings, coming down, being like, we need to make these so that they can do stuff that we want. Let's make them do what we want. Oh shit, they can do too much of it. They've
Let's
escaped.
destroy them.
Let's kill them all. Let's bring a frost and let them all die.
Well, yeah, I forgot what I was going to say now.
Sorry.
No,
it's
not,
Something related to alchemy?
No, it's carry on. It'll come back to me.
Okay. What was I gonna say?
Yeah, we're all stuck now. Right.
Yeah, fuck. So okay.
Well, the lab's deep down. Mr. Aegis's lab as well, deep down underground, underground military base. That's a dumb note right there, really.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it looks like they climb in the machine, but they go down well far. Like that's really they're not living. They're not in the machine.
If I'm not mistaken, they go through
in the rat base. Underneath that's underneath the rose bush, innit? Yeah, I mean, when she first goes to meet, sorry, Mr. Aegist, when she goes to meet him and they go
he
underground.
Hates young people.
Yeah, that's actually poison that they've given for Timmy. She just happens to get it mixed up with the drugs for the cat.
Right.
She gives him wormer, cat wormer.
Yeah. Okay. But the other thing I found was interesting is that, and maybe this is sort of what you were just saying, Jack, but like this is sort of has some sort of symbological overlap with the Chariots of the Gods thing, which is like the rats. Not only do they develop this new intelligence after being experimented on at NIMH, they're able to, first of all, the main pointed thing that they want you to know is they understand human writing, which is what allows them to be able to, there's a sign on the edge of the cage that says lift latch to open lock. And they're like, oh shit, I can read that. I'm going to fucking open the latch. And that's how they all escape. Yeah. But the other thing that's sort of not heavily played to, but I think is really significant, is they've developed a sense of morality. They're now like, we can't be stealing from the humans. Well, that would make us just like we were before, like rats, like running around the ground and eating like trash that has been discarded. No, we should create new things. We should now become creators ourselves, and actually, harvest food and, generate our own electricity and stuff. How the fuck they're going to do that? I don't know. They're rats.
But they seem to have laden all the walls with electricity. Like, it's not safe. They're not good electricians. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. They're not. I wouldn't want to be in so, there. And that weapon as well that rat uses against the girl mouse, like that's firing out electrical sparks. That's not plugged into anything.
No, it's not on an RCD, is it?
No, it's just fucking dangerous.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, there's a certain naivete in the rats, isn't there? They think, okay, we're gonna stop stealing off this farmer, and then everyone's gonna so
then they'll take us seriously.
That. But like they could build this big like rat megapolis that's all wired up with fiber optic internet and all that shit, and mains gas and all that, and then council a bloke from the council come along. Have you got building inspection certificates for all these high-rise?
You got a fucking license.
Not even that. They'll come there and be like, "Fuck me, this thing's full of rats."
Yeah, I know. Let's bulldoze it.
Yeah,
burn it.
Yeah.
but now that you put me on this Chariots of the Gods thing, honestly, it's like, what about they're like the Adamu, man? They don't understand the divine spark they've been given, man.
Yeah.
And they're gonna just turn around and do the same thing that the humans did, man. Pretty soon they'll be making ants, making them intelligent.
We should start a business, bro.
Literally. Oh man. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting shit though, honestly. But okay, well, how about this? Let's just forget all the fucking kooky schizo tinfoil shit. In terms of the third
well, thanks
act
for having me.
But the third act of the film, and William, I sent you a video on this. I don't know if you watch it, but I gave you the TLDW on it, by the way. Is that the final act of the film is this pretty dazzling rotoscoped fight scene, which is pretty good. It's like a pretty legit fight scene for a cartoon. Thoughts?
There's a bit of suspense to it as well.
Well, I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
They literally, frame by frame, copied it from two different classic films.
Lion King and Highlander.
Oh, no, I think Highlander was inspired by one of these movies, by the way. But it's two movies. There's one from the 1930s called The Adventures of Robin Hood, and there's one from the 1950s called The Vikings.
What's that about?
I take one quick guess. I think you might figure
People
it
from
out.
all.
I think it's actually about it's about
The
Frenchmen.
Six Kings.
Yeah. But yeah, so there's it's like literally at the same point in the movie, and they've literally just swapped out two characters from the Vikings.
But that's a
to be
Disney
these two
trick.
characters. It is, yeah.
That's what they did with Jungle Book and somewhere else. Winnie the Pooh, I think, was it?
This dude worked on Jungle Book.
Well, there we go. They just took cells from one film, kept it all, and then somehow changed it slightly, or the last cell that goes over the pile.
It, yeah.
Yeah. And kept the movements and stuff, which is
that's what they did.
Recycling, I suppose.
But it's like a postmodern thing, I guess. It's sort of repurposing and using it for your own story. But because it's an effective piece of film, because that movie was a hit back in the day, and everyone was like, "Whoa, look at the dazzling swashbuckling adventure of these Vikings or whatever." Cool, that sounds good. We'll take that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why that scene works, is that it's fucking literally just copy pasted from two other successful movies that have frankly faded into obscurity because of time. But like the people who work on these movies are all like navel gazy, Hollywood insider types. So they have it on their mind, obviously.
Navel gazy sounds like it's someone that sucks a lot of dick.
Yeah, sailors.
He would be gazing into a navel, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's a bit navel. He's a Jeffrey's a navel gazer. But don't say anything. Don't say it. It's just,
Navel gazers.
It could just be navel gay.
I suppose, yeah.
Navel gazers should be the name of a gay bar.
Yeah, everybody loves a sailor.
A gay bar. I'm gonna go down to Navel Gazers, get a couple of beers with the boys, get into some mischief tonight.
Get into some mischief.
Navel Gazers.
I think they have to call it Mr. Chief.
Good point. They wouldn't want to hang out with Mischief.
No.
Ew, gross. Mischief, nasty, gross, with an axe wound between her legs.
All right, I got a point as well, where it's the film sort of discounts again everything it's said, because it makes a big point. The whole point, like you've said of the film earlier, Scott, is these rats have become intelligent. They can use tools, they can use reason, morality, a code of ethics, really hyper intelligent, but they also believe that crystals have powers.
Yeah, that's right. We haven't talked about the crystals yet.
Yeah. And you're like,
well, there's a lot of feminine power in there,
So
meaning fake power?
That's more feminism stuff then. That's like who they're aiming the film at.
Yeah, well, the sort of
superstitious
crystal
women
stuff is like a substitute for children. Like, women who've got children to look after right at the moment don't aren't interested in crystals, right? Women who have never had any children or whose children have grown up and left are the market for crystals.
I gotta tell you, I disagree with this premise. I like it. I like the hating of women that rules, but I gotta tell you, these nowadays you're right. But I think the crystals thing is not new. First of all, crystals thing goes back to the '70s, and I'll tell you, weird moms were the queens of crystals.
Right.
Weird moms whose husbands just drink themselves to death because they can't stand being around them is the primary demographic for the original run of crystals. And also, actually, in last episode we talked about Roman religion. I actually have the theory that the crystals phenomenon is actually a modern day expression of neo-paganism, because the crystal is like a token that you would give to your god. It's sort of like a physical, totem that you've created or are utilizing in some fucking fucked up ritual to appease these non-existent pagan gods, essentially.
Right.
Do you know what would be cool if they were using the crystals and they were using the chemical composition of the crystals, using the modern day periodic table to spell out messages to the gods?
That's interesting. I like that.
Like this, leaving a tribute to Athena at the grave or whatever, at the church of Athena. I don't know what you'd call it, the altar
Temple
of Athena, and they've just managed to use different chemicals to spell out "show us your tits," and but it's just a pile of crystals to the unknowing observer, and they're like, "Oh, that's a lovely thing to give to her," and it's just some perv hanging around in a bush, staring into the sky, waiting.
Yeah,
hand on dick ready.
We got that cloud. That cloud looks like a pair of tits.
Yeah. Thanks, Athena. Athena, thank you.
You put down a little plop of gold on the altar to get her attention.
Yeah. Hey, you.
Hey, you. Yeah. Thank you for indulging that. That's, by the way, there's a listener of the show who fucking hates that joke because shouts out to him. I know he's steaming right now for me bringing up AU, got any gold? Gee, you got any silver? Okay. Oh man, that reminds me of another joke that science teacher in high school told me that joke. And another one of his jokes I could probably remember now. There's a story. The story goes is that there's an old couple living in a village, and I don't know what the reason is. The farmer goes over to go say something to the old man at the house, and he goes to the door and he knocks on the door, and the old woman comes to the door and he goes, "Hey, is the farmer home, or is the fucking old man home?" And she goes, "Oh, sorry, no, he's gone for cotton." And then so then he goes, "All right, fine, I'll see you later." He leaves. Next day he comes back, and he knocks on the door. "Hey, is the old man around? I gotta say something to him." The old woman says, No, he's gone for cotton." And so he goes, "All right, fine, I'll leave." And the third day he goes back, he knocks on the door, and he goes, "Hey, is the old man there?" And the old lady opens the door. She goes, "Oh no, he died." And then the farmer goes, "Well, I guess he's gone, but not for cotton."
Oh.
It's a long way to get there, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. It was funny. I didn't tell it right, honestly.
I'd always have him telling me that if I didn't like his class. Be like, sir, what was that joke about? Was it about wool? That joke about wool, sir.
He's gone, but not for cotton, dude. Yeah, sorry about that.
Jack, while we've got you on, have you ever seen the movie Kes?
Yeah, it's a good film. One of the only films, really, that's ever made me feel anything. I don't really feel things in it, but it made me sad because I used to breed chickens. It's very similar, you know. Yeah. I used to breed chickens and that, and the idea that, someone coming and killing me best chicken, which would have been a lovely little blue Malaysian Sarama that I had, which I was very proud of, and I fucking adored me. But yeah, if someone had come and killed that, I wouldn't be happy. I'd be unhappy like Billy. I also got called Billy at the butcher's, and I'm not sure if it's because of Kes. My boss said it's because I played the banjo, but I think it's because I had an affinity for chickens and a lot of chickens, and an obsession, basically, with poultry.
Chickens are nice, aren't they? They're friendly little creatures, aren't they, when they get to know you?
Some of them are. Some of them are vicious.
Yeah.
That's
Rabbits
true.
can be vicious as well. I once had 3 really, really vicious rabbits. So I gave one of them away to a little girl a couple doors down.
What ended up happening to him?
Apparently, it was lovely with her. Never bit her. Never bit her once. It just didn't like me.
It is gendered, for the record. Like they
But,
do have
what?
like
Do
affinities
they?
for various. For like a rabbit will have an affinity for males or females, depending.
Well,
on...
this one liked other male rabbits, but didn't like male men.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I had 3 of them, and they would all bite me really hard and draw blood nearly once a week. They were horrible. Couldn't go near them really, but I kept trying to, I wanted them to become friendly. So I kept going and spending time with them, sitting with them, putting my hand in the box, nowhere near them, so they'd be used to it. And they would come on over, and I'd be like, oh, today's the day. And then it'd bite me.
You should have taken it out into the woods on a glove. The rabbit.
And just catch an hawk or something.
Get it
instead.
to eat meat out of your hand.
Yeah. I mean, if you wanted to get a pet hawk, yeah, that'd be a great way to do it.
Yeah. You got 3 goes, haven't you? Then if you got 3 rabbits.
True, yeah. The first time doesn't work. You got 2 tries.
Fucking hell, that was quick. Right, okay, I think I could sign this now.
Yeah.
The reason
You can just write the first one off, really.
Rip it in half so you get 2 goes.
I watched Kes for the first. Can you believe this? Professional Yorkshireman that I am. I watched Kes for the first time, like the night before last.
Oh,
because I'm
incredible
also
film.
an absolute contrarian, and everyone's been telling me my whole life I would love it. So I was like, well, all right, then I won't watch it. Fuck you.
Yeah, I get that. I wouldn't watch Forrest
Doesn't
Gump
really
because
pass
I knew
the
there was
funny.
a girl at school who liked it, and when she'd talk, sometimes you could see phlegm in her mouth, and I didn't want to like a film that she liked.
I get it. Yeah.
I didn't want to give myself the opportunity. I was like, if you like that, it's not going to be for me.
That is the exact reason why I've never watched Breaking Bad, dude.
Oh, that's such a shame, bro. It's a
I'm
good,
fine.
It's a good
I sleep like
program.
a baby every night.
Yeah. Well, it's a good story, and if they could condense it to like 3 films, it'd be perfect. It is very long.
I've heard that.
There's a lot of filler for no reason. Like, why
That
are we
movie
learning the
Kes-
innermost workings of a fucking car wash?
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
But
Well,
that movie
Kes-
Kes, it doesn't really pass the name test though. Does it well?
That's probably why I never watched it.
Yeah.
why? What's the name test? Nothing with a Z in it.
I judge a book by. It ain't even got a Z in it. It's KES, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
But
Well, you'll only watch films with a Z in it then.
It must be. Yeah. No, tell
What
them
is
tell them what their name rule is.
yeah, but if I don't like the sound of the title, I just won't watch it.
That's a good rule, really.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons, I've not watched any of the Barbie films or TV
Yeah,
shows.
exactly. There you go. Yeah.
I'm like, that's
Barbie,
not
yeah.
really for
I'm
me.
out.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's an extreme example of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like I don't know, what's some of the
Doctor
movies-
Strangelove was one that you ended up liking, but you were like, why would I ever watch a movie called Doctor Strangelove?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Brothers in Arms. Never watched it.
Yeah,
Doesn't
me
Yeah, I
sound
haven't
like.
either.
I don't
Probably
want
same
to. It
reason.
sounds like people are going to hug. Not into that.
Yeah, it sounds like there's going to be
A
some
company
vaguely
of men.
gay relationship between soldiers.
Yeah. And you're like,
A company of men.
yeah.
Secret of NIMH does not sound attractive, to be honest. But when
no.
you know it's National Institute of Mental Health, did it help?
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
it
Yeah,
did, yeah.
but the thing is, that's partly why it disappointed me a little bit because, like, I was expecting it to be fully Ted pilled and like,
Sure.
but it wasn't.
It's a kids movie. They did what they could, I think. But okay, so now before we get out of here, let's just sort of cover the whole stone thing. What the fuck was the stone? I have to assume it's some kind of satanic magic. It has to be inspired by the NIMH influence or something.
I think it's going to have a little bit of influence coming from the sort of like the idea, like the men who stare at goats experiments and the astral
Yeah.
plane and stuff and things like that, and being able to affect your reality by using your brain and having a talisman, because she gets telekinesis,
Yeah.
which makes no sense. It doesn't tell the fucking Nicodemus isn't like, look, be careful with this because you're
It
going to be
makes
able
you
to
lift
move
things up
stuff
with
with
your
your
mind.
eyes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And she doesn't have a clue, but she can use it straight away, which is also weird. Like, because you'd think normally you need a bit of practice. Like, how many Star Wars films was there at first? You know, before they
Yeah, it
got
took
quite good at
months
it.
of hanging out with Yoda for
Yeah,
him to be able to lift
yeah,
the
yeah,
X-wing. Yeah,
yeah. It
Wasn't
took
it
him
just-
ages.
It's Deus Ex Machina, isn't it?
literally. Yeah,
I've never seen it because it's not a film that title I'd want to watch.
I don't think it is a film movie. It is. I don't think it's a film title actually.
Is it not?
But
I thought it was.
it's
It
it's
sounds like a
another one of
film.
those
I've just not watched
screenwriting
it.
terminologies. Where it's the Deus Ex Machina is basically it's a
God from the Machine.
God from the Machine, meaning it's like it's God it's a plot development that couldn't have happened other than to make the plot happen.
Yeah.
Oh,
know?
right, okay.
It's a
Yeah.
convenient miracle.
Yeah,
Convenient
right,
miracle.
okay.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, exactly.
So it would be a terrible name for a film because you could make a
Yeah.
film then that makes no sense.
Yeah, it's a video game, I believe, but I don't know if it's ever been a movie. The what's it called though? So first of all, it's
Robert, by the way, that listens to the show, there's not. It doesn't happen so much in the Brentford books, but in other Robert Rankin books, he will literally call whatever the MacGuffin is. We'll just say it's the MacGuffin. I'm
Right,
going to get the
yeah.
MacGuffin,
Yeah.
and he'll I said, oh, what we're going to do is, well, we just need a Deus Ex Machina ending here.
yeah. He's calling a shot. It's different.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
pool.
Yeah.
But what's it called? So the thing is like, so Nicodemus explains to Mrs. Brisby, that the stone's power is unlocked by courage of heart. Now, courage of heart is no Christian fucking value that I've ever heard of. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure.
Oh.
It's certainly some kind of. It seems. I don't know if you would call it pagan or sort of. I think it is sort of like that. Like sort of transhuman. You know, you have to have the boldness to step into the unknown. You know what I mean? And there's something.
Wizard of
Weirdly-
Ozzy.
I think to be fair though, it's and this is what I think it symbolizes. Okay, now that I know what this guy meant by the stone, I thought it was just like a big fucking stone, but like a cobble or something. But no, it's like a jewel or
It's
a
a
crystal or
pendant,
something.
yeah.
It's Jonathan's passed it on via
Nicodemus.
to his missus, right?
Yes.
And so these like I guess the nearest thing that they'd call it now is like family values or the tribal values or whatever it is. And that's what Jonathan was fighting for when he was figuring out how to get everybody out of the thing.
Agree.
Right? And he's passed that on to his missus. And then although you've got all the, and this is kind of the cool thing about the movie, because like all these like rat experiment things have been done to us, but we've got this thing which is symbolized by the pendant, which is, and it predates. It's not a Christian value. It predates that it's that spirit of what humans just are. Yeah.
Survivors.
Yeah, that's what it is. And so like that was brought into paganism, and then it was brought from paganism into Christianity or
Agreed.
through whatever steps it's been down. I think that's what it is.
Agreed.
It's just like the love. If a woman stops being a Christian, she doesn't stop loving her kids. You know what I mean?
True that. Yes, that's right. You're still, the human impetus is still there to pass on, not just care for your young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like religions never really had to teach us that.
I don't know. But I also
think they
know
had
for
to
a fact
accommodate
that
it.
in the pagan era, the woman used to lay the child at the father's feet, and if he rejected it, they would just walk away from the baby.
Well,
They should still do that now.
We've all seen that picture of that woman with the brown baby and the white husband and the black eye.
It just became a little easier to tell. It
Yeah.
featured Fox.
I'm pretty
But,
sure those guys were proper racist
Yeah,
back in those days.
Well, they didn't ever even conceive of someone who looked different, really.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like one French village, one Gaulish village. If someone's been knocked up, if the missus has been knocked up by somebody from like 10 miles away,
They can tell just by looking at him.
Yeah.
They look to us, the untrained eye obviously would be like, what do you mean? But no, that's like serious ethno racism.
Yeah, sure.
Intra ethno racism. Yeah, no, that's an interesting thing. I gotta be honest. I think one of the strengths of this movie is it's a nice self-contained story. And again, the pacing is a little weird. I agree with that. But in general, there's no point in the movie where I was bored. It was pretty entertaining throughout the whole thing.
I was gripped by it.
Yeah, and that said, the vagueness, who gives a fuck? It's a damn movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. I liked at the end, you've got the MK Ultra reference that's quite like spoon-fed to you, where it's the kid mouse ends up accidentally seeing these crows going at it in a bush. And that's like the sexual abuse and the sex trauma for the kids involved in MK Ultra. They slip that in at the end and be like, this is actually what happened.
I didn't notice that, but I did notice they were a little close to the kids to have those birds fucking.
Yeah, you could see the bushes moving and hear them making noise. Why did they add the noises?
And the terrible Italian
giggling
utterances.
crows.
Oh yeah, the other thing is I noticed that she got like stigmata from using the stone at the end, if you remember. That was weird.
I didn't
her
see
hands
that. I didn't
burned and
clock
she
that.
picked it up anyway. So her hands it caught on fire, it starts to elevate in the air, and she has to grab it or it won't work. She grabs it at first and it starts to work and it burns her hand. She goes, let's go. And then she goes, no, I have to save my kids. And she grabs it and lets herself get burned. And then the last scene, she's got bandaged hands.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I didn't notice it
I didn't
till I was
clock that.
watching. I was
I'll have
watching
to
like
watch
an
it
interview
again
with the animators. Actually,
The thing is, right, I'm going to say, I can't give this a score if that's what you're going to ask, because it's just, it put me off right from the start because it's about anthropomorphic animals and it's not just Tom and Jerry, you know? So I'm not on the wavelength, but I've really enjoyed talking about it, and it seems like I did notice quite a lot of stuff in it. But I wasn't engaged in it like you two guys were. Maybe I will be if I watch it again.
you should watch it with Lil Amardina. I think she'd like it.
Yeah, see what she takes from it.
She's the right age for it too, because it's crazy that how violent it is, and it's rated G.
Yeah,
by
but
the way.
there's a lot of violence in it, but it's sort of like good violence because it's not like vengeful violence. Do you know what I mean? There's no revenge plot.
It's
There's
good and
nothing
evil
sinister.
fighting.
Yeah. And you've got the there was something that I've wrote with the stone. It's a red stone, and then the red stone becomes powerful. And I was wondering if that's like
red
Republican
shield.
propaganda.
Maybe, yeah.
Having
maybe.
that in a film, because before that, like earlier, like Star Wars was early 80s, wasn't it?
70s
Was
and
it
80s.
70s?
But yeah.
79.
So in there, you've got the red is the bad, the blue is the good, which again, propaganda, Democrat,
Interesting.
Republican. And then in this, the red is the good.
Interesting.
What? Hang on a minute. Jack, I can't believe you missed this. Red is Mars. Blue is Uranus.
Mine's not.
Yeah, mine's pink.
I told you how little I showered.
No, it's Martians. A red stone symbolizes Mars, isn't it? Mars isn't.
I
it?
think you're right about
it
that,
could
yeah.
actually, yeah. Taking on the power of Mars.
Yeah,
the
it's
war,
strong.
The war god. Yeah, it's a war god, isn't it? That's
It's a
what
war god,
Mars
and it's
was.
also the god of agriculture,
Yeah.
which they're on a farm.
Makes sense. They're on a farm, yeah. Now, if there was a way that
she
we
was
could,
hungry.
if there was a way we could twist it so it's Saturn, and then it fits into all the
Right,
like
there you
the
go.
Reddit sort of Saturnalia themes and that, but don't know how to quite get it there.
I wish we could, but I don't know.
Maybe
Isn't
the
that-
hole in a hand in the stigmata, that's the hoop of Saturn. And they've
Yeah,
covered
there
that
you
up so
go.
you can't quite tell that that's what it's all about.
I like the way Jack's just like brushed off because I don't really know what I'm on about. My trying to suggest, maybe it's about a war between Uranus and Mars. And he's like, from fucking.
I don't know where you're going with it, innit? So I just
No, you're
we'll
just
skirt
too-
around this.
you're
I'll make
too
a bum old joke.
What the
and
fuck
then,
What's that planet where them Egyptian fuckers come from?
what, the Anunnaki, Nibiru?
Nibiru,
I don't know
yeah.
where the
If I'd have
Egyptians
said
come from Egypt, didn't it?
If I'd have said Nibiru, you'd have fucking got it.
No, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, would it? It's you'd said Uranus. I'll go for that low hanging fruit, innit?
Yeah, come on. That was a fool's bet, a fool's gambit.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
not
You're gonna give me the chance to say bumhole? We'll go for that.
That was a fool's gambit thinking he would go high when low was right there. The other thing was the wise old owl, the great owl. That's gonna be like the owl is
Moloch
right?
reference.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Oh, the mud flood stuff as well. Did you catch the mud flood stuff? So this intelligent species trying to move from one location to another for safety away from the dominant species of the planet, and then the house becomes entombed in mud.
That's right. It sinks right into the mud. Oh, you got it, dude.
Yeah, been a mud flood.
It's Tartaria.
Why were the doors so big in the rat's fucking lair?
Maybe for maybe they're in cahoots with Dragon the cat, and they're like, we got to let him in every now and then. He's actually all right. He's just
he represents
when we drug him, he loves hanging because they were drugging him, weren't they? So he's got to come and get his fix every now and then.
Right. Yeah.
By the way, I've actually recently been watching. I got, just not to get on a sidebar here, but I've recently gotten interested in this YouTube channel called what's it called? Like ancient, or it's not even
Foreskin
ancient,
ratings.
Oh, it's Old World. It's called Old World Oddities. And I think is the channel. And it has all these cities in America, and it shows all this old architecture that's no longer there, that they primarily knocked down to put in the highway system, by the way. I have to say that. But he's a Tartarian guy. He's a Tartaria enjoyer. And he goes, and he's showing places that are near me that I've been. And he's going like, look at this. He's like, this is obviously not made for like, and shit like that. And I'm like, dude, I've been there, and trust me, fucking, it is not anything crazy or weird or anything. They just liked making nicer looking things back in the day. And the real tragedy is that we don't anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, I grew up in a flat which was converted from like a big old Victorian mill owner's house. Mm-hmm. Right. And the ceilings were like 15 foot high in this house. Right. The people, Victorians,
why would they need to be that tall?
Yeah. Victorians, yeah, they wore tall hats, but they took them off when they went indoors. So, like, they weren't 15 foot high, were they?
You're asking the right questions, though, finally, William, after all these years. You know, you're getting there. Where are the monsters?
Yeah, but anyway, check out that YouTube. Honestly, just as like a view, I literally turned the volume off, and I was just looking at these pictures of old like places near me that don't look like that anymore, and it's just like amazing how cool like Providence, Rhode Island looked like in 1899 or whatever.
I was talking to one of the, in fact, the coolest of the KYMI, of the other homeschool mums, right? And we're talking.
Heimskill.
She was reading this poem, the one that's the Lord Byron one, the one that's the troops of Midian, all gleaming in purple and gold. Swooping down like a wolf on the fold. That one.
The
pretty good poem.
The Light Brigade, the Charge of the Light Brigade.
No. It's just a biblical one. That was Tennyson was the Charge of the Light Brigade.
Oh right, yeah.
So this was Byron, and so
Byron's the one who died at the Charge of the Light Brigade.
No, he died in the Greek War of Independence. He was one of these. This is what we're having this conversation. So, so he's doing these scriptural references, but he's really one of these deist guys, because like these guys were obsessed with ancient Greece, and that's why they started. Like the Greek War for Independence was very much like one of these made-up wars that's going on right now.
Color revolution.
Yeah, and it was just because all these university-educated arty-farty dickheads like Byron were so into these pagan gods and the culture that came from them. And that was what made it happen. But the problem with it was there was no Greek nation, and there never had been a Greek nation up to that point. And so they were just basically all Ottomans of, they were just mudblood.
Well, they called them
Ottoman.
Romans.
Yeah, because it's the Eastern Roman Empire, wasn't it? The whole
Yeah.
Ottoman Empire was just the Eastern Roman Empire never fully collapsed. It was just limped on, and that was what it had ended up like by the late 19th century. And these idiots from England decided, oh, wouldn't it be great if Greece was Greece again?
I think those guys were like the useful idiots, though, and it was really just like the British Foreign Office being like, "How are we going to fuck Russia over this week?"
Yeah, that's true.
Literally, that's what was actually going on.
Yeah. Well, Russia was actually on their side in that one because
You're right about that.
It was also portrayed. So I mean, that's really what the intellectuals behind it were into this Greek paganism, but like how it was sold to the public was it's protecting Christians.
Yeah,
which that's how they used to sell wars, but now it's on the contrary.
Which is like, again, now we're verging into Greek Revolution talk, but like it was semi-true, but also not true because like the Christians had, being the fact that they were able to become janissaries actually gave them a pretty strong fifth column sort of place in the Ottoman government, actually. But that's neither here nor there. We're not talking about NIMH anymore.
No.
This has all become far too highbrow and intellectual for me.
Let's get back to the cartoon rats. No, I don't know what the deal was. I agree with you, by the way, Jack, is that I did feel that the timing of this movie is weird. I really think they just cut 15 minutes out of it. And if that extra 15 minutes was in there, it would have made a lot more sense.
I don't think it was a consecutive 15 minutes, though, either.
Agree. It was here, there, a little bit here, there. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so they go, the first act is, you're right. It's like this travel. It's very brief. It shows, Dom DeLuise. Yeah, get to the owl, and then the owl sort of just lays out the next act. He literally says almost nothing.
More exposition. Do you not think that the crow, Jeremy the Crow, seems like he could symbolize some form of CIA handler?
Ooh,
who
now you think
constantly makes sure that the Mrs. Mouse, whatever her name was, Mrs. Brimsby, that she always gets to where she's supposed to be in order to enact the overall plan of the Great Owl, who is the boss.
Maybe she's like the retarded Islamist,
the Gump
proto-terrorist.
I thought he meant like a Forrest Gump character.
I don't think she's that bad. You've never seen Forrest Gump, have you?
I have. I watched it.
That's where
I refused to watch it for years, and then once that girl was well out of my life and I wasn't at school anymore, I was like, you know what? I'll watch it. Now that I can't tell Snotmouth that I enjoyed it. I can't let on to it. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe you should have waited till she was dead.
I don't know. She seemed like she came from healthy family. So
damn it. So you'd never get to see it then. Yeah.
She's never going to get COVID with all that snot in her mouth.
No. She's got a good immune system going on there. Keeps people away from her, innit? Social distancing before it were a thing.
Yeah. Voluntary social distancing. Yeah.
Enforcer.
Before we get out of here, I just wanted a couple little factoids about the movie. This is, I believe, the first appearance of one of the worst actors of all time. What's his name? What the fuck is the kid's name? Wesley Crusher from Star Trek. Right. Will Wheaton. Will Wheaton plays the character Martin, the little mouse kid. I don't know, William, if you saw an episode. We watched a couple episodes of TNG for the show a while back, Star Trek Next Generation, and the absolute worst character is the teenage boy who's on the ship because his mom is the doctor of the ship. And his first film appearance is his voice acting in this. Also, it
was the schooner Enterprise that sailed the stormy seas. The doctor brought her son with him to bear her company.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Well, it's a schooner Hesperus. That's another poem. I've started getting into poetry, dude.
It seems it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also one of the girl mouse child is a very famous actress you will know, Shannon Doherty.
No, I don't know who that
No
is.
idea.
90210?
What's she from? No,
Oh,
I never
no.
watched that.
90210. Also, she was like
As
the.
if I would watch 90210.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
know,
those
but-
are the fucking numbers.
She was also in.
I'd just be sat there constantly adding them up, trying to figure out what it means.
Maybe based on the name, Jack, you've seen this Mallrats.
Yeah, Mallrats is a mint film.
Yeah,
I watched that long before my obsession with rats, though.
yeah.
I just think Kevin Smith's
She
mint.
was the brunette who went out with.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I never knew.
This is her first role as a little girl.
Mad. But she
And
looks better
John-
in Mallrats.
She does look a lot better in Mallrats than she does as a little rat girl. Yeah. So John Carradine, this is an interesting piece of trivia here. John Carradine plays the Great Owl, and he died during production. At the time that they recorded his voice acting, they thought they were still going to call it Mrs. Frisbee. So they had to go in and take a razor blade and shave off on the magnetic tape that they recorded of him saying "f," and they put in other audio of him saying "b."
So it does sound a bit disjointed with the owl.
It
but I
does,
thought
yeah.
I thought that was on purpose to make it seem
No.
creepy, to go with the cobwebs and stuff. Because it does sort of make you think, oh, fucking hell, she's in trouble here.
Yeah. But no, that's movie magic, baby. That's impressive that they were able to do that. They were able to fix the guy's voice who's dead. You know?
Yeah. Even for like, especially back then when it's analog. I think I've just learned something about myself as well. I seem to have some sort of involuntary thing about people with speech impediments, going off what I've just said there, where I just think they're
You have a
inherently
sixth
evil.
sense to notice when somebody says something off.
They can't pronounce stuff properly. They're wronging them.
Come on, man. I'm right here.
And what else would I want to say? Of course the score, which was pretty good. But will be obvious when you find out that the score was written by Jerry Goldsmith, one of the most storied composers in film. He did the Star Trek theme, first of all, but also he did the theme from Taxi Driver, what's it called? To Chinatown, hundreds and hundreds of movies. He's like one of the most well-known film score.
With you talking about the Star Trek theme, we had a special needs lad in our class for a while when I did horticultural college I went to, and we had to do a presentation on, like, soil or trees or something, and he did his talk, and all he did was play two separate Star Trek intros and just stand there next to the whiteboard whilst he played and just watch the class. And I was literally crying with laughter. It's making me smile now thinking about it. I was crying with laughter and slapping people around me, being like, this is fucking mad, what's going on here? And I was howling with laughter. Everyone else was keeping a straight face, maybe looking down. I just couldn't stop laughing. I got kicked out of the class, I was like, I think I was 20 at this point, and I'm being kicked out of the class. He was older than me, and then I got brought back into the class a little bit later, and the teacher sat me down and was like, for how you are, you of all people should understand you should understand him. Which meant that that's where I learned. All the teachers there thought I had some form
retarded,
of special needs. Yeah.
That rules, bro.
But just to put the fine point on it,
You'd love it though, Jack. If everyone pissed themselves while you were doing your presentation,
Oh
you'd
yeah,
love it,
that's what
wouldn't
I
you?
would go for. I remember doing one presentation where I
he wasn't
pretended.
trying to get that result.
No, he didn't want that. He was deadly serious.
Yeah.
And it had nothing to do with the subject matter. It was just the intro. And apparently, when I later, during laughing fits, one of the lads turned round, let's call him Malcolm, and he turned around to me and he was like, mate, he does this for every presentation. And I didn't know if he was taking the piss, but apparently he does. And he gets marked on it just the same as everyone else would get marked on it. And he wasn't failing, and that annoyed me.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
various Star Trek themes has nothing to do with how
Can
to
you-
build a rockery or whatever, you know.
Can you fail at horticultural college?
Yeah. We had a few. We started out with a class of like 35, and by the end of it, there was only 6 of us.
Including
Oh, he was
Star
in a
Trek boy.
separate class, but yeah. So there
He
was
was
a
in the
couple
special
classes of
class,
it.
yeah.
No, he was in this. There was an older class of a lot of older people, which for some reason I wasn't put into. Now we know because I think they thought I had LD or something, or special needs of some description. And so I was in this other class, and they all did the same classes as us, but we never crossed with them, only every now and then. And this was one of them times where, for some reason, they
sure
put
we
us
could
all
make
together.
Your special needs friend, though, I'm sure he's a perfectly good gardener now.
I hope so, because he'd been doing it for a long time. Yeah. I think he may have been the evidence that you can fail at it, but they kept him on.
I actually, for the record,
Mascot.
know several people in my
maybe.
real life who have failed as gardeners. Not me. I'm good at it.
Well, I mean, I failed as a gardener, but I mean, I'm pretty sure I could pass an horticultural college.
The Latin's
True.
hard. You got to memorize a lot of Latin, which was really
interesting.
hard.
I wouldn't have
'cause,
thought that.
Yeah, for the names of plants and that, but
Oh,
she wouldn't
yeah.
take into account that I can't change my accent in it. Like I can't do voices or anything. So if you're giving me a 15 syllable name of a plant with 6 I's and 7 A's, I can't say that.
Yeah.
I definitely can't spell it, but I can't say it either. So it was very hard. This seems like it's gone very serious and not in like a nice way or good way, and it's just become boring. Just me talking about being unable to speak about plants.
No. I was just trying to think about what what plants was it?
I don't remember, man. There was fucking. She used to give so every Monday afternoon she'd give us a list of
Could you
15
not
to
remember
25
grass?
plants. No, because it's all stuff like Lilandii and things like that,
Okay,
which is
yeah.
like
that's
a
over my
fucking
fucking pay grade
evergreen
too,
hedge.
dude.
Yeah, man, it's fucking just give me a shovel and let me dig. That's all I wanted to do was just dig holes.
Well,
build ponds.
horticultural college, they'll have taught you all about weeds and stuff, won't they? And what?
Yeah. See, they didn't like that. We had one whole module where we basically learning weeds aren't real. It's just a plant that's somewhere where it's not wanted. So, say if a rose bush grows in a football ground, that's what they'd always say to us. That, by definition, is a weed.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because it'd get in the way.
But fucking, I don't know. Is there anything else guys want to say about NIM? I don't know. I know not much. Oh yeah, like scores. Jack, are you familiar with the Cinemapocalypse Now scoring system?
No.
Okay, the Cinemapocalypse Now scoring system is 1 to 10. 5 means you would recommend it. So my point being is that 10, there should be almost no movies that are 10. It's your fucking favorite movie ever is a 10. And so the most movies should be clustered between 5 and 6, generally speaking. And in light of that, I will give my score for Secret of NIMH. And then, by the way, I also want to make sure that there's a emphasis on the fact that this is a children's movie. So in light of that, I'm going to give it a higher score for being, because most children's movies I'd say are 1 or 2 because they suck ass. And this is elevated children's movie. I would give this a 5.75.
Oh.
Because I liked it. I enjoyed it. I was entertained by it throughout. I was sort of intrigued by the sort of themes it was engaging with. But ultimately, I was left wanting a little bit because I don't feel like they fleshed them out perfectly. And, something that had like a fully ensconced idea that is definitely imparted to me, or at least like gave you. I'm not thinking about this movie after it's over, really.
No, I mean, think if Miyazaki had made it, he
wouldn't have.
No, but you know what I mean. Like the way he deals with these serious topics about civilization is much more, number one, engaging, and number two, like. Complete.
It's encompassing.
It makes sense. It's like, it's like I'd say that this movie it's like a piece of music that never really resolves itself.
I don't disagree with that characterization. Yeah. So in light of that, I can't give it a 6. A 6 if it had more meat to the symbolism and shit behind it, I'd give it a 6. But since it doesn't, it gets a 5.75. William, you said you didn't want to give it a score, but would you give it over a 5?
Not right now, no.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to get a black eye from somebody that I recommended it to.
Well, would you recommend it to a child?
half.
Would you recommend it to a child?
I'd suggest it to a child.
Maybe not one you're looking to impress.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4.99 for now, but I might come back and raise it.
Fair enough.
Watch it again.
Fair enough. Jack, comment?
I was thinking I'd probably go 4.5, 4.5, because I would, if I had a kid, I'd show me kid it, but I wouldn't go and see me mate and be like, fucking, you gotta see Secret and NIMH, lad. It's a hell of a story, you know. There's this mouse and she doesn't know her husband's is fucking, you know, gripped from start to end. I wanted more experimentation on the rats. I wanted more sci-fi. Yeah. I know it's kind of sci-fi, but I want a lot more sci-fi. And another bit,
one of the rats should have had a pencil sharpener up its ass.
Yeah, get a bit of branding in there, get me behind it. One bit of symbology in it that I've just realised then as well. Because you said something, I think one of you said the word symbol and it made me realise. Again, to do with the idea of the higher entity beings being there, the cat was called Dragon, and dragon can mean Draco, which is a type of alien species that's quite a domineering alien species, which is sort of ruled by the Galactic Federation. So the Galactic Federation would be the farmers, Draco, the dragon, the cat would be their enforcer.
Right.
Which I thought just
Interesting.
as a bit more symbology.
Or just the humans in general. Maybe not specifically the farmers.
Oh, yeah, not just the farmers,
like
but
race
the
of
humans.
Yeah.
But yeah, 4.5, because I'd probably, you know, if it was my own kid, I'd be like, watch this. I probably wouldn't, like, if it was my mate's kid, I wouldn't be like, you should watch Secrets of NIMH, because then he's going to think I'm a gimp, innit? If I'm recommending that to him, rather than recommending something with a bit of action or something in it to him. Yeah. You know, but yeah, I'd sit down with.
I like the action at the end of the movie. I don't want to undercut the fact that there's.
But it's not enough.
Stolen.
It's not enough to recommend to your mate's son. Do you know what I mean? Like, you want to be like,
you want to tell your friend's son to watch Gladiator or something. Like,
yeah, something like where he's going to watch it and think, yeah, he's cool. You know, you don't want to be like, he watches this. This is for little kids. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know if I would recommend it, but I'd watch it with my own kid, and I'd be like, look, this is why I do things to rats, because this is what can happen if we don't keep them in check.
They're gonna start stealing our electricity.
Yeah.
Well,
keep an eye on the plugs.
Through your wires.
This is why we turn the plugs off and the lights off if we're not in the room.
Maybe that's why they nibble through the wires. They're trying to
steal
it, and they just didn't get the.
They got built-in batteries.
Yeah.
That's what they injected into them, little batteries, little watch batteries.
Yeah.
Or just battery acid.
Keep charged. Yeah.
Yeah. Bats full of battery acid.
Yeah.
That sounds like a product you're gonna sell.
Isn't it? My eyes lit up when I thought about that. Yeah.
It'd be cool if you could have a rat battery where like the tail is a positive and the mouth is negative or something.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. For if you're looking to start a house fire, are you looking for a house fire? Have you seen what's going on in LA this week and thought, I'll have a bit of that? The new rat battery.
Rat battery, y'all.
Rattery. Obviously.
The rat tree. Oh, that was right there, and I missed it.
Yeah.
The rat tree. That's it, I think. Anyway, before we get out of here, Jack, you want to plug anything?
I do. Listen to me podcasts, Truth Seeking, TROOF, Seeking like you're looking for it, Worldaroundewe's podcast and all. But listen to Truth Seeking because it's gotten a lot better because we've got better mics and that. So it'd be nice if we could get some more listeners on that. And obviously, if you want to buy Dead Rats, I'm sure you'll put a link in the description for that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, great. And for us, www.historyhomos.com is the RSS feed. We're also available on iTunes, Spotify. We're doing an experiment. We're posting on YouTube, guys. It's on YouTube every week, the weekly episode. We've only had the Money Kings episode taken down, William. All the others have stayed.
Right.
The Money Kings episode didn't even make it up, dude. It didn't even make it up.
See, we've had Truth Seeking episodes stripped off YouTube, and I've just stopped putting them on.
Yeah, that's what we did. Yeah.
And I don't think we say the sort of jokes you make. Do you know what I mean? And they've taken us down. So the fact they're leaving yous on, maybe like Zuckerberg and that are being honest about we're peeling back the censorship stuff.
We're the new epoch. We're in a new epoch. So we're on YouTube now currently. Maybe we won't be by the time you're listening to this. I don't know. But we're also on BitChute, Odyssey, Rockfin, Rumble, and most importantly, you can subscribe to our Substack page, historyhomospod.substack.com. And you get this, the regular episode. You can get your RSS feed through Substack if you want. But also, if you subscribe there, you get weekly bonus episodes. They're real episodes. They're not just like, oh fuck, what are we going to talk about this week? And also I've already written one article, but I have plans to write another one in the future. I'm dabbling in article writing. So get over there. It's historyhomospod.substack.com. It's the best way to support the show. Follow us across social media at History Homos Pod. That's Twitter and Instagram. And, join our Telegram group. At time of recording, still the friendliest place on the internet. t.me/historyhomos is the channel, and that's where you get like our updates. And t.me/historyhomos chat is the chat. Get in there and fraternize with your fellow schizo Americans and UK Ians. And
don't forget Australians. And
he left, remember?
There's still
there's Australia. I know there is, but the most celebrity of the Australians has been spurned us now. So so go check us out, please. Thank you for listening and thank you for supporting the show. Email me with any questions, comments, or concerns, or if you want to buy a t-shirt, send your size and address to historyhomos@gmail.com. Die with dignity. William, is there anything you want to say before we hit the road?
It's cold out, so hold out.
Later, homos.
In the shadows of the night, I hear whispers take flight. Might be secrets, tales untold. In a world that's brave and bold, a flicker of hope in a stormy sea. A mother's love, it sets me free. With a heart so strong, I stand my ground. In the dark, I'll be found. Oh, the secret of it calls to me. Through the storm and the strife, I'll find my way. With the spark in my soul, I'll never let go. For the love of my family, the darkness I'll forever shine. With the power